In the last class, we stopped here that we realized that essentially Nusselt number is the temperature gradient at the surface. Okay, so it actually represents uh, the value of heat transfer coefficient. So basically, it is a non-dimensional convective heat transfer coefficient value. And then we have seen that Nusselt number and the friction coefficient for an average value of any object is basically a function of Reynolds number, and the Nusselt number is function of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. Based on this theoretical understanding, I mentioned that several researchers then proposed different relations or correlations for several different type of flow. Say flow means when there is say external flow over a spherical object, flow over a different type of shape of geometry. And in that case, what would be the heat transfer coefficient, like particularly convective heat transfer coefficient? And they expressed mostly in this common form, which is the Nusselt number is basically a function of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. This is the theoretical understanding. So they tried to develop correlations that has a simple this kind of a power law function where C is constant, M and N are indices, which typically varies between 0 to 1. Okay, so we will see that several such complex relations are available when we will try to find out what is the convective heat transfer coefficient for different type of geometry or different type of flow. Now, the relation, if we try to find out between the friction coefficient and Nusselt number, so essentially friction coefficient you directly relate with say the velocity of the flow, or in terms of say the hydrodynamic boundary layer. Then on the other hand, we have say the Nusselt number, which is related with the thermal boundary layer concept. Now that means, so our job is to find out in this course, in this heat transfer, this part is that what is my H value, which is the convective heat transfer coefficient. So for that, if we find out the value of Nusselt number, it helps. Okay, so the point is that sometimes this CS value is known to us. Then the question is whether we can estimate the Nusselt number from that friction coefficient value. And for that, we have to develop, or we have to see that what is the relation between CA and the Nusselt number, the friction coefficient and the Nusselt number. Okay, now, so these relations are basically developed, that is the hydrodynamic boundary layer and the thermal boundary layer. This basically momentum and heat transfer that is happening in the boundary layers. So these relations are developed based on some similarity concepts. Those are called the analogies. Okay, so today we'll see that how we can have such relation, or what are the relation between this momentum and heat transfer boundary layer, or say the analogies between momentum and heat transfer. Okay, so again for that, if we consider say our non-dimensional momentum and energy equation for say the steady state case, steady state, the other assumption is that incompressible laminar flow. Okay, with constant properties. On top of that, we consider that there is no viscous dissipation. No viscous dissipation. Okay. So what would happen to our energy equation and the momentum equation, particularly the non-dimensional forms? It would take a form, say, if I write the momentum one based on this analysis, plus is equals to this kind of form you have already seen because we have discussed those. So this is the momentum equation, and our energy equation would look like sorry, this is temperature since it is the energy equation. So here, in addition to all these simplifications that we mentioned, that is the steady, incompressible, laminar flow with constant fluid properties and no viscous dissipation. On top of that, is something missing here? If you go back to the momentum energy equation.
So the Prandtl number.
Prandtl number. The Prandtl number here is assumed to be 1. Say this is the case. Now, Prandtl number 1, when can happen? I told you this thing.
When conduction, pure conduction.
And when that typically happens? For which material? See, Prandtl number is what? The non-dimensional number, Prandtl number. Again, see, these things you have to, have a very clear head on this. You cannot mix up Prandtl number, Nusselt number, this kind of definitions further. Prandtl number says is that it is Cp mu by K or nu by alpha. Momentum diffusivity by thermal diffusivity. Agreed? Okay. Nusselt number, on the other hand, is HL by K, the ratio of convection to pure conduction heat transfer. The point that you immediately mentioned, that if it is 1, that is the pure conduction, it relates to, because this value cannot say go beyond value 1, because upper side you have conduction plus advection plus conduction divided by conduction. If advection is 0, essentially it is pure conduction, so you have a minimum value of Nusselt number which is 1. This we discussed. Now the Prandtl number, on the other hand, It says the ratio of momentum. Remember, do not forget now further. It's the momentum diffusivity by thermal diffusivity. Okay. So Prandtl number 1, that means what will happen to the boundary layer or the thickness of the boundary layers?
Both will be same.
Same. Okay. Now, typically, this happens when it is the fluid is gas. So, mostly, say, for the cases of gases, the Prandtl number is usually 1. Near about. If it may change slightly, but in an average, the Prandtl number value is 1. It is the approximately 1, we can say, for the gas or the gases. Okay. Fine. Now the point is that further in this equation, something is missing. What is that? Particularly the momentum equation. Please go back to those equations. If you have your slides open or notebook open.
The pressure gradient?
Pressure gradient, absolutely. Because here, there should have been a term like this. The del P, or say here it is in the direction X only, dependent on X. So dP by dx, dP star by dx star. Now, when can we neglect that? That when can we consider dP star by dx star is equals to 0?
For liquids.
Horizontal.
Not horizontal. This is all the things we are discussing. Say the flow over a flat plate, and then what happens near the free stream region? You have, we discussed this again, that you have U is equals to U infinity is equals to constant value. So they again go back to the classes of the boundary layer approximation.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So then what happens with these many assumptions? We can write simplified form of momentum and energy like I have written here. Now, if you look at these two equations, you would see, I mean, you can in fact see it's quite apparent that it is exactly the same form for U star and T star. This is exactly the same form, identical, isn't it? It is just replaced by U and V as sorry, this is U, so this is the momentum 1. So this U is basically replaced by T. Now, that means what? This means that the first derivative at the wall is same. if u star and the t star, these functions are identical in nature, okay, then their first derivative at the surface must also be equal to each other. Okay. Now, let me once again write the previous equation so that you can quickly understand what is happening. So the equations are for the tau surface we had at y is equals to 0. From there, we got u, say, mu free stream divided by L. This is when we did the non-dimensionalization at y star is equals to 0, which means we had mu divided by L, which was a function of x star and Reynolds number, because u star was a function of domain boundary and the Reynolds number. This we discussed in the last class. Okay, and at the same time, we also knew from this that Cfx was tau s rho u square by 2, which means we had mu d by L rho square by 2 and the function of x star Reynolds number, which was basically two by REL and another function of, so I'm here for the sake of promptness, I'm writing as the same function, but all these f's are of different function. So f1, f2, something like this. Okay. Then what we had, in addition to that, we had our understanding of the Nusselt number as HL by K, which is y star is equals to 0, which is another function of x star, Reynolds number, and Prandtl number. So now look at these three expressions. And this one. We have to look at this simplification colored by yellow. But we realize now, since after these many simplifications, okay, the momentum and energy equation looked identical, which means u star and t star are identical function. That means the first derivative at the surface are identical for the two cases. Okay. So what it does then? What happens to this?
So in the coefficient of friction, we can replace the Nusselt number.
Absolutely. So that means we are trying to find out that relation itself. So can you now realize that this is related with Nusselt number by this relation? Because this is Nusselt number, this gradient. On this hand, we had a term which is here with tau, which means our CFX is essentially related with a del U star by del Y star. So if you replace these values and rearrange all these three equations or three relations, what you basically get is CFX by 2 is equals to your Nusselt number. Did you get this one? Or
Yes,
should I
sir.
further explain? Or should I further explain?
No, sir.
But still, for the sake of those who still didn't get it, a quick hint is that you see tau is a function of this X star Reynolds number. Similarly, we wrote CFX in the same form, but with a different function, which has a prefix of 2 by REL. Okay. So this gradient is essentially this value. And the right hand side, del T star by del Y, is essentially the Nusselt number. This is strictly valid for Prandtl number 1. And this relation or this analogy, by looking at the similarity between the two equations, okay, here, we call this as famous Reynolds analogy. This is known as Reynolds analogy. Now, it is very important, very useful, because it helps us to determine heat transfer coefficients for fluid with a Prandtl number value approximately 1 from the knowledge of friction coefficient. So if you knew the friction coefficient of a fluid that has a Prandtl number nearly 1, you can estimate its Nusselt number and subsequently the convective heat transfer coefficient. Now we introduce another non-dimensional number, because now this is something looks like, okay, we have CFX, non-dimensional parameter, Reynolds number, Nusselt number. Can we further compact it? Someone has done this already, and what they mentioned is CFX by 2 is equals to Stanton number for Prandtl number 1. The Stanton number you can also call this as modified Nusselt number, is equals to Nusselt number, Reynolds number, Prandtl number. All these three are clubbed in Nusselt number, which is basically H by rho Cp, and I mentioned here U infinity just to make it clear that it is a free stream velocity. So it is the average fluid velocity. So Stanton number is also a dimensionless heat transfer coefficient. Like the Nusselt number, it is further modified with the Reynolds number and Prandtl number. Now, the point is Reynolds analogy is limited because we have this criteria. The restriction is that the Prandtl number should be approximately 1 and this is 0. Okay, but usually what we want that, okay, if we can have a relation that is applicable for a wide range of Prandtl number. So remember, Reynolds analogy has these two restrictions. Okay, if we try to use it for a different value or say a wide range of Prandtl number, this has typically been done with the corrections of this equation by incorporating Prandtl number along with the Reynolds number. Okay, and that looks like something is Nusselt number is 0.332, Reynolds number to the power half, and Prandtl number to the power 1/3. This we have seen. Also, we have seen this relation. These two relations we have already seen, the power half. So what has been done that if we take the ratio of these two and rearrange it, we get basically modified Reynolds analogy. And that looks like REL by 2 is equals to Nusselt number and Prandtl number to the power minus 1/3. Or in further compact form, divided by 2 is equals to our Stanton number in compact form and Prandtl number to the power 2/3. If I elaborate, this becomes your H by rho Cp this into Prandtl number to the power 2/3. This relation, or it has been seen that it is valid for a range of Prandtl number 0.6 to 60, quite a wide range. This is valid. Nonetheless, here this is further mentioned as JH, this term. So Cfx by 2 is equals to JH. this JH, I mean this whole term called JH is called the Colburn J factor. Colburn by the name of a scientist. Or in other word, or this relation is also known like the modified Reynolds analogy or Shilton-Colburn analogy. So this relation is called the Shilton-Colburn analogy or modified Reynolds analogy, and this one was the Reynolds analogy. So Reynolds analogy was limited or restricted by the condition that it has to be the Prandtl number has to be nearly 1. For a wide range of Prandtl number, Reynolds analogy has been modified and is called the Shilton-Colburn analogy, which is this, and here this JH is called the Colburn J factor. Now, all these relations, particularly this Shilton-Colburn analogy for a wide range of Prandtl number, if you remember, it was developed flat plate flow, flow over a flat plate, for which usually, as I said, this is 0. This is one of the criteria. Flow over a flat plate, this happens. We had laminar flow. These are the assumptions on which this is the relation. But it has been seen that it is also applicable for turbulent flow over surface, and including the presence of pressure gradient, which we assumed 0 for deriving this analogy. That means it has a wide applicability for various scenarios. Okay, but it may not be that accurate, but still you can estimate to start your calculation, or say as a preliminary estimate, which works pretty well. There are several analogies particular to the situation, like the specific turbulent flow, different kinds of turbulent flow, different range of Reynolds number, but we will not go into that detail. But the bottom line is that why is it needed in the first place? The reason is that if we knew spin friction or the friction coefficient, whether we can estimate convective heat transfer coefficient. That was the question, and that is why we came across Reynolds analogy and then the Colburn analogy for a wide, the Shilton-Colburn analogy for a wide applicability, considering the different situations. Any question? Any question? Because now we'll see its application. Okay. So now yes. I want you to just quickly open a pen and paper, arrange pen and paper, so that you can do some hand calculation. Okay, you have computers in front of you, so you can use that calculator. You did not require any specific calculator. You can open Excel to do the calculations quickly. And this is the problem. A 2 meter by 3 meter flat plate is suspended. Now this problem is directly related to what we just concluded our discussion. Okay, so it is based on that analogy. So a 2 meter by 3 meter flat plate is suspended in a room and is subjected to airflow to its surface along its 3 meter long side. The free stream temperature and velocity of air are given, that is 20 degree and 7 meters per second. The total drag force acting on the plate is measured, which comes out to be 0.86 Newton. To determine the average convection heat transfer coefficient for the plate. The air properties at that temperature, that is 20 degrees centigrade and 1 atmosphere, the atmospheric pressure is given, the density, Cp value and Prandtl number value. So this value, the purpose of mentioning this value is to show that it's approximately 1, I mean close to 1. It's an indication. It's not, I mean, one can always argue that 0.73 is not necessarily nearby 1, but the point is that, so now here you decide that which expression you would use. Is it Reynolds analogy or the Chilton-Coleman analogy? But typically the value of gaseous Prandtl number is in this order, 0.7, 0.8, 1, this kind of value. So can you do this calculation and tell me what do you understand?
Yes, sir. Doing.
Yeah, please do that. So first of all, what you would do?
First, I will find the skin factor.
Right. And how do you do that?
By that formula, tau divided by, because you know that force, so we will know tau on the plate. No free stream velocity.
Yeah. So in order to find this tau, or say the CA, the skin friction coefficient, okay, I hope you remember how to calculate this thing. So let me draw the situation if somebody didn't get it. So the scenario is something like, say, I have this kind of a flat plate where the length is, this one is 3 meters. Okay. And inside, say, the paper, okay, perpendicular to this, the computer screen that you are seeing, there you have 2 meter depth. Okay. So here, the airflow is happening parallel to this side. Okay, parallel to this surface. And this air is at 20 degrees centigrade and 7 meters per second. So how do you calculate friction coefficient?
So we know like tau because we know force area of plate, and it's tau divided by half into rho free stream velocity square.
So what that A would be, the area?
3 into 2.
Because this plate is suspended.
So it'll be 2 times 3 into 2.
Yes, because both the sides are exposed. what that value would be. Sahil Bairagi, are you there? Sahil? Sahil? Deepjoy, are you there? Deepjoy?
So is the answer 8.766?
For which one? What?
H.
The value of okay. So you calculated the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
The value of H. What you told? How much?
8.766.
And you used Reynolds analogy.
No, sir. That what the name is?
The modified. Yeah,
modified.
But then if you, right, if you use, I mean, the modified one should be used because it is not close to 1, this 0.73 value. So
Yes.
yeah, in that case, the value would be around 12. Let's recheck the calculation.
Sir, it's 12.97.
Right. 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, that is fine, acceptable. 12 point something. Muskan, are you there? Muskan Jain? Bhavna?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, are you calculating?
Yes,
Or
sir.
did you get the problem statement?
Yes, sir. I understood. I understood the question.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
But
sir.
are you calculating?
Yes, sir. Just a second.
Yeah, do that. Sanskar Patni? Sanskar? Shalini Bansal? Why are you organizer? Oh, you started the meeting, that is why. Shalini Bansal? Being an organizer, you are not here. Sleeping or what? Okay, Somil?
Yes, sir.
Calculating?
Sir, doing it.
Do this. These are the simple problems. I mean, see, that is why I'm waiting for you guys. We just
Sir,
concluded
is
the
it
discussion.
12.70?
Yes, absolutely. Tridipta,
Yes, sir.
are you following?
Yes, sir.
So, did you calculate the area at least on which the drag force will act, or say the friction force?
Yes, sir. I'm now calculating the Nusselt number.
Okay. And why do you need to calculate that?
Because from the Nusselt number only we are going to get the heat transfer coefficient.
Okay, but that is fine. But in this case, do you need that value? Okay, let me solve this problem. We have 10 minutes for the rest of the guys who are not doing anything. So yeah, so have a look at it. So the point is that the problem is simple. We have a suspended plate. So that means on both the sides, we have a friction force that is acting. That force has been measured and it has been shown, or it has been mentioned, that this value is 0.86 Newton. The question is, what would be the convective heat transfer coefficient? So clearly, it is the analogy between the skin friction or the friction coefficient and the your Nusselt number. Okay. The point is, Prandtl number is not, say, close enough to 1. So we have to use the modified Reynolds analogy or Chilton-Coleman analogy, that relation. But before that, what do we know? The friction force that typically acts is nothing but friction coefficient on the area it is acting multiplied by rho v square by 2. This is the relation. The force value we know, 0.86 Newton. CF is unknown, that we are calculating, because if we calculate CF, we use that in the Chilton-Coleman analogy to find out what is the value of H. That is it. So AS, the surface area on which the force is acting, it is 2 times this surface, which is 3 by 2. So 3 by 2 meter square multiplied by both the sides, which is 12 meter square. Okay, density is known, 1 kg per 1.2, say, yes, it is written. Okay, so 1.204 into 7 meters per second. Okay, divided by 2. Remember, this is Newton. Okay, so Newton means what? Because all the units, say, remember, this is the point again that your knowledge of CPC would come handy, that you have to have consistent units. Fine. Now, fortunately, here you have Newton. So it is in SI and everything here is in SI as well. So you basically find out from here what is the value of CF. And it would come around 0.0024. Okay. Now, if you look at the modified Reynolds expression that we have just derived or just wrote, it is equals to Hx divided by rho Cp V multiplied by Prandtl number to the power 2/3, which is also Jh. So here you replace this value. Cp is known, V is known, Prandtl number is known. So you basically calculate what is the value of Hx. That is it. And that value would be around 12.7. Do not forget to write the unit, which is watt per meter square. Any question? Okay, so the point is that I want you to solve yourself couple of problems that is there in Incopedia DeWitt or JP Holman, whichever book you are following. Okay, based on this analogy, based on the derivations. Okay, so the point is, if I quickly summarize the whole thing in 1 or 2 minutes that we have, what we learned in the last couple of lectures, it is today is the day 8. So that means in last 8 lectures, what we have done is that we learned thermal boundary layer, hydrodynamic boundary layer, okay, the boundary layer governing equations, continuity, x momentum, y momentum, energy, okay, what is viscous dissipation, when it is neglected, what is the velocity boundary layer thickness, what is local friction coefficient or local friction factor, what is local Nusselt number, what is the relation between thermal boundary layer thickness and the hydrodynamic boundary layer thickness. Fine. What is the functional form of Nusselt number? What is the functional form of friction coefficient of the further we learned in the recent last 2 classes is that what is the Reynolds analogy, what is modified Reynolds analogy. By the way, you must remember what are the physical significance of several dimensionless numbers. You cannot mix now further between Prandtl number and Nusselt number. What is Stanton number that we learned in this class? Okay, so these are the things that we have understood, and these are the fundamentals of the foundation of further classes. Okay, so I think network got disconnected in between. Were you able to hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So, okay, so then I stop here if you do not have any other questions. So now based on these things, based on these derivations, based on these discussions, I will send you, as we discussed, say test paper, which with a reasonable time frame. Okay, so the paper may be of say 1 hour duration, but eventually you would get 2 hours or 3 hours kind of time to submit that. Okay, and again, I will try not to push it in the off hours, that is after 5 p.m. or after 6 p.m. Okay, but I have to have something, say, during the daytime, and preferably, definitely not on Sunday. Okay, so either on Saturday or Monday, you can expect this.
So
Okay.
I don't understand that duration will be 1 hour and 3 hour.
Yeah, the point is that if you were in campus, the paper you could have given that in 1 hour duration. That is the point. Did you get my point? That the solution would hardly take say 1 hour of the whole paper. But considering all the difficulties that you mentioned later, that network connectivity, I had this class, that thing going on and all these things. So that is why I told that I will give you say a couple of hours, say at least 1 hour extra time kind of thing.
So like
So
what is
test
timing?
should be Saturday or Monday?
Yeah, sorry.
Like
Test
what
is
is
going
the
Saturday or Monday?
Let's say so that would be on Monday, not on Saturday. Again, weekend off hours, let's avoid that.
Sir, and what is the time, like from which time to which time will we get?
That is the point. That is basically Monday when you have a free slot. Tell me.
So like some people are free but they've taken additional, so like totally some people have time but some don't, so not feasible is.
Okay. So then I understand that during weekdays all the slots are already occupied. So then what can I do is that Should I schedule that on during the class slot? That no lectures would happen, but you just give the test. Would that be fine?
But that wouldn't give us some 15 some extra time that you mentioned.
So for that, I can reduce the paper length. Or say I can give you, say, 2 problems that could have been solved within 45 minutes. You have another 15 minutes to submit that.
Yes, if it is fine for everyone, it is fine for me.
Yeah, so that's right. I mean, all of you are here. At least 70, 80 guys are here. So yeah. So that is then final. So next then Wednesday I will give you instead of any lecture, that will be the test time.
Sir, is it test or like an assignment, like a proper test or like something like an assignment?
No. Assignment we give, say, overnight period or something like that. Because we zero down to this formula that we will have at least 3-4 tests, so that it averages out. Your difficulties are basically averaged out. We thought to have first test in this week, but since there are several things were lacking, I mean, like the boundary layers and all these things, I thought that was covered in fluid mechanics. That didn't happen. So I had to spend extra time on this. I had to take more classes on this. So it was not planned like this, basically. So that is why the test. Yeah, Vapna.
On Wednesday, we are having classes, our class from 10, right? And
Yeah.
that 9 to 10 slot is also free. So, like that extra time can be adjusted in that.
No, but that slot is free for you. I mean, is it free for everyone? Can you guarantee that? That is the point.
Sir, like Thursday afternoon is free for everyone. Thursday afternoon, like 2 to 5 is free for everyone. Like no one has taken any additionals also. So you could
Yes,
use
sir, that time would be much better, I guess.
No, but then send me a consensus. Like you initiate a Google form. Out of 106 students, at least 100 students should fill up that. Okay, we are free with on that particular slot.
Create a poll in MS Forms itself in the team.
Right. So do that and send me the consolidated report by today or tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So take this lead, Sesati. You take this lead that you create a MS because you are allowed. I mean, you guys, everyone is allowed to create any post in that MS Teams in this group. Or even if you want to do that individually on your capacity, you do that in your MS Teams. But send me a consolidated list that that shows this period is fine with everyone. And if that consensus doesn't happen, then I mean, for sure the test will happen on next Wednesday. So prepare yourself for the next Wednesday from 10 to 11 test time. If you were lucky, if you get the consensus, then it would happen on the Thursday between 2 to 5. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Okay, then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.